Look what I just found. It's a fucking block of like 20 chicken breasts.
So good morning guys. Welcome back to the week 1 update of my pursuit to lose 8 kgs in 8 weeks. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've just gotten up. Ashamedly, it's 9:15. I've discovered something recently, and as much as I tried to get up early, you know, seize the day, early bird gets the worm and all that jazz, I find that I click into an extra productive gear at like 9 o'clock at night, which is not ideal. Anyway, I was up until like 1 a.m. last night, sending out emails, updating the Facebook group for the January challenge, the Fitzness January challenge, which starts today, and hence I tried my best to get up at like 8, which is still a pretty pathetic time, but more reasonable than 9:15, and I failed miserably. First thing I need to do is take these damn retainers out. The second thing I need to do is take a piss. And the third thing I need to do is step up on the weighing scales. So look at the difference in just 1 week. The conditions for that weigh-in are as follows. Haven't drank anything, my throat is fucking like the Sahara Desert. Went for a piss, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, go to the toilet, don't drink anything, weigh yourself, and that is as consistent as the variables are ever likely to be as long as you do it first thing in the morning. Once I weigh myself, what I need to do, as this is a week 1 update, is take my week 1 photos. With progress photos, you know, it's not really that important where you take them. Just make sure that there's decent lighting, that you can see what's going on, that the background is relatively plain, and that the lighting is relatively decent. As a coach, there is nothing worse than a client who takes the worst progress photos. And granted, it's not the most important part of the process, but it is a very, very important part of keeping you as motivated as possible. You don't want to be relying on the weighing scales as your sole measure of progress, because that shit can be volatile. But pictures, at least over the course of several weeks, they very rarely lie. Just looking back on that video, the lighting is too overexposed. In my experience, when clients take photos that are in an overexposed environment, they are less likely to very clearly be able to identify the changes that are taking place. I've had some clients lose 5, 6, 7 kilos, but struggle to identify it on the photos because the photos were just taken in such, as I said, overexposed lighting. So I'm gonna try, I'm facing a window, a little bit of natural light coming in. Maybe I'm just so fucking white. If you're struggling to take photos that aren't like overexposed, do them in the gym changing room toilets. A little lesson in progress photos. So looking back here, as my belly turns into like here, the background's not consistent. So if you take photos and you make a phenomenal change, which no doubt you will in 6, 7 or 8 weeks, what people are going to say is, there's not much of a change there. Why? Because your belly like kind of runs into the background, if that makes sense. That's why like having a relatively consistent back, like that's not even the best because there's a fucking change in color. Like ideally a fully plain wall. In terms of like flexing and all that, take both to begin with. You know, you probably don't want to be trying to make yourself look as good as possible. You kind of just want to, you know, sit there and exist in your own gluttony. But as the weeks go by, as you progress, as you get more confident, as you like how you look, sure you can flex, but I would also take a control set of photos in which you don't flex, that you're kind of mirroring the same body language as you did in the initial round of photos that you took. When I said I wanted to lose 8 kgs in 8 weeks, a lot of people turned their heads at me, so to speak. And this is for the reason that they thought 8 kgs was a hell of a lot of weight to lose in 8 weeks. And in many cases it is. If you do lose 8 kgs in 8 weeks, you've done a hell of a fucking job. I knew what happened in week 1 was always bound to happen, and that was to see an initial massive drop in weight on the scales. And that drop, very little of it is going to be fat, but a lot of it is going to be water weight retention, water that you're retaining from just eating a higher volume of food, water that you're retaining from eating a higher volume of carbohydrates. Not going to get into the nitty gritties of it, but as soon as you control and reduce your calories, initially you're going to see a very big drop on the weighing scales, a drop that you can't expect to see as the following weeks proceed. So 1 week into my pursuit to lose 8 kgs in 8 weeks, I'm already down over 3 kilos.
Arrived at the gym, the Mecca. There's one thing that I want to say and one thing only. That's the fact that recycling is the biggest scam on planet Earth. If saving the planet boils down to me peeling the food label off a packet of ham before I then rinse it and chuck it in the blue bin, we're fucked. Exercise number 1 on the menu is going to be an incline barbell bench press. Warm-up sets complete. I'm actually not sure whether to include this as a warm-up or not, but it's 130. Because I'm on a cut and strength certainly doesn't progress as much,
I want to see how the first set feels, and then we'll move on to potentially sets of 140. That one, we could have got 7 or 8 reps out of it, but I want to save myself to increase to 140 and do as much as I possibly can. Last week I set 4 reps on this incline at 140, which is probably the most I've done on this particular incline bench that I've ever done. So I want to see if I can at least match that or beat that. 140 on the bar. Jeez. No, shit wasn't moving. 3 reps, 1 less than what I was able to do last week. I guess it's all part and parcel of the cut starting to take hold. It's a million and one factors that could play into that below par performance, but I'm not going to try and rationalize it too much. It is what it is. C'est la vie. Unbelievable. Big difference on that last set. Set number 2, I got 3 reps. Set number 3, I got 4 reps. The last set that I did, I was talking a lot of shit into the camera. So when it came to doing the actual set, I wasn't as dialed in, I wasn't as focused as I should have been. But on that particular one, there's literally like a minute and a half of me just getting in the zone, lining up my first rep with the drop of the music that I was playing or that I was listening to. And so I was just much more dialed in, much more focused, and much more determined to get a productive set on the third one. So on my second set, I had an inferior performance because I wasn't concentrating, because I wasn't locked in, because the music dropped before I unracked the weight. But on the third set, I got all those variables right and managed to complete 4 repetitions. Second exercise of the session is a incline machine press. I'm not much of a gym nerd. I'm certainly not a nerd when it comes to gym machines, but all I really know is that hammer strength is a good machine. So me, not being too fussy, sees the words hammer strength and decides, yeah, do you know what? That sounds like the exercise I'm going to do. Like when I think about it, that's how most of my training has been constructed over the last 10 years. Like I've never been particularly fussy about what exercises to do. Yeah, there's certain exercises that I prioritize more than others. Really and truly, I kind of went into various chest days and wouldn't really know exactly what exercise I'm going to do. I wouldn't have a meticulous plan. I would have a general skeleton structure of the exercises I'd like to complete, or at least the type of exercises I'd like to complete. I think that's important to understand as well, is that things don't need to be so meticulous that you have to do precisely this exercise that targets precisely this area of the muscle that you're looking to train. And just get in there, have fun. It's probably the worst advice that anyone could give. That's too easy. 2 plates too easy. Let's go. I just forgot that there's no music playing in my headphones because the sound system's so good in Monster Pro. I think the older that I get, I'm still only 25, but I'm starting to appreciate the role that exercise plays, not from a standpoint of looking better or being healthier, like boring stuff, but from the perspective that I feel as though it flushes my mind, at least for a few hours, of any shit that is accrued or any mental block that I've acquired. And because I work in a relatively creative field, I mean, it's probably as creative as it gets. I have to show up on camera like I'm doing right now and think of something new and funny to say all of the time, whether that's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, oftentimes multiple times a day. So, you know, I need my head to be relatively clear. And so I find exercise, whether that's going for a run, whether that's doing CrossFit, whether that's coming to the gym, when I leave, my head is a lot more clear than when I came in. I should be looking to schedule, and I do recommend that most people try to schedule their workouts before doing a creative endeavor, and that could be, you know, showing up to work and you've got a project that you need to get done. I think arriving into work at 9 a.m, having gotten out of bed at 8:45, similar to how I did it this morning, is not going to be the most ideal manner for you to be as creative and inspired as possible. I actually think there's a sciencey mechanism to this. I think I saw some nerd post an infographic before about the effect that exercise has on your brain, and essentially, if I was to describe it, it opens up, it's like a key that unlocks a certain portion of your brain, or maybe more of your brain than was open prior to you doing exercise. I got the equivalent of carpet burned on my back trying to finish that rep. Final exercise on the menu is a flat machine fly. Could do dumbbells, could do cable, but I'm once a pro of 2 flat machine flies, so may as well make use of one of them. 10. Fuck me, it has to be one of the ugliest exercises when you start to approach failure, because your chin just like becomes one with your neck. You're starting to do that crab fly bullshit. That's all there is to say on the matter. A little bit of a tip to make your cable ladder raises a little bit more optimal. A lot of people set up their cable stack at the very bottom, which is fine, really. You lose just a slight bit of tension at the bottom here. Whereas, if you want to increase the amount of tension, the amount of load under which your muscles are perpetually placed, don't even know if that's right in that context, set your cable stack up a little bit higher so that at the end position, it's essentially just pulling on your side delt throughout the movement as opposed to relaxing the tension at the bottom. Hold on to the pole, lean out a little bit, and perform your ladder raise like so. You saw in that exercise, the last couple of repetitions that I did. Now, I try to do this on most exercises where it's safe to do so, but I'm really, even though I can't do the full ladder raise, I'm still trying my best to do whatever function is left available by the muscle. So yeah, it's not a full range of motion, but it's still certainly going to tear some muscle fibers to allow you to grow at potentially a slightly, and I emphasize slightly, faster rate. Nothing like Tom Platz screaming, "More, kill me, squeeze it." You know the drill. First tricep exercise, easy bar, tricep push down. Full stack, about to go down. By the way, the workout that I'm following you can find on any one of the push days on the Fitzness app. And more important news, if anyone's looking for a banger in the gym,
You, buddy! Come on, 23!
it's got a mix of David Goggins, Trent Twins, Rick Piana, who, now that I think of it, was fucking badass and probably one of my biggest inspirations in starting the gym. Not because I wanted to look like him, but just his philosophy on like, eat fucking more, really hit home.
Eat more fucking food, that's gonna make you bigger.
R.I.P. Rick. So as I've said 1,000,001 times already, I've signed up for High Rocks for the end of February, but I might be in Australia at the time. Myself and Abby are thinking of going, so I may have to push it back by a month or two. That's going to be my primary focus over the next few months. And as a result of that, because you only have a limited sort of fountain of recovery capacity to dip from and to use on a weekly basis across all the various physical activities you may do, you have to adjust your training volume appropriately. Like, I can't continue to go to the gym and push myself balls to the wall with a push-pull leg split 5 or 6 days of the week. So as a result, my training is going to reduce back to 3 days per week. I'm going to hit 1 leg day day, 1 push day, and 1 pull day. The reason being, I'm still getting or feeling as though I'm getting a good bodybuilding pump, which I wouldn't quite get, in my opinion, with a full body workout. But also, it's going to provide me with enough volume on a weekly basis to keep my muscle and to keep my strength topped up as I cut, but also as I improve my fitness. In the absence of, let's say, 2 or 3 workouts that I'm not doing per week that I would typically otherwise do, I'm substituting in long runs, maybe interval runs, as well as 1 or 2 CrossFit sessions per week to prepare me for the high rocks in 1, 2, 3 months time. Don't worry, I'm not going to turn into fucking Kipchoge anytime soon. Still going to be jacked, still going to keep my muscles, still going to keep my strength, still going to be heavily focusing on bodybuilding style training, but it's just going to be a little bit subsidized with more fitness work for the time being. Let's go. It actually fucking stinks being as strong as I am. Like, picture having to do a set of 30+ repetitions, full stacking a fucking tricep pushdown. It's not easy. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. And finally, last exercise on the menu is an overhead tricep cable extension. Generally for triceps, obviously not a hard and fast rule. Kind of want to do 1 extension, pushdown, or movement out in front of the body and 1 overhead the body.
There's only one rule in this fucking jungle. When the lion's hungry, he eats.
This is just something that has to be said. And I know there's a huge amount of people thinking this, but very few have the balls to actually say it. We've all heard about pre-workout caffeine, drinking cans of Monster, taking pre-workout, like yawn, standard practice. But who the fuck's talking about post-workout caffeine? Who's talking about the need to, as you come out with your blood vessels borderline bursting in your brain, who's talking about the need to scull some caffeine after you've had a push session? No one. I never considered myself to be a martyr, at least not a martyr for energy drinks. Seeing as no one else is going to tackle the difficult subjects, I guess it's up to me. 200 milligrams of caffeine down the hatch after my gym session. In case you're wondering, am I rewatching my own TikToks? Correct. Kind of running low on food, NGL. Some bell peppers, which are bound to go off. Some cream that has already gone off. I'm no genius, but I think I've figured out meal number 1. The delivery man has arrived, and I think it's going to sort out meal number 1. By the way, none of this was planned, I swear. Fucking hell. It's like the perfect shot. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not working with muscle food. It's probably like the second biggest brand that has, I suppose, overlooked or set aside my very obvious flaws as a content creator and wanted to collab and wanted to work with me. Now, they haven't asked me to actually put anything in a YouTube video, but because I'm sound and because I appreciate companies who, you know, are based from the perspective that they're not looking for the most complete or well-rounded or politically correct content creators, plus the fact that Abby's just after leaving me last week and she was cooking all my meals, even tracking all my calories. So what the fuck am I supposed to do for the remaining 5 or 6 weeks? No, actually you said 8 weeks. For the remaining 7 weeks of my attempts to lose 8 kgs. Muscle food, and I'm gonna be honest with you, not gonna sit here and fucking lie like most people. Muscle Food are a brand that I didn't really know existed until they reached out and I looked into what they did. So they're a company, I think, primarily based in the UK, but they've recently launched in Ireland. And essentially, they offer a range of foods, of which you can imagine are usually high in protein, relatively low in calorie. So we've got meats, sourced locally from Irish butchers. You've got meal prep, that you can get by using code Sean10 and not only get 10% off your order, you'll also get £30 or €30 off your first box. That essentially gives you prepped meals for, depending on where you're ordering from, the UK, Northern Ireland, or Ireland, for about, I think it's upwards of €2.34 per meal. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. I don't know if it's going to be a pretty good deal to you, but considering protein bars now cost €3.50, I'm not too sure how you could go wrong. Also, I'm just reading through the information here. One of these boxes is like hampers of meat. With the hampers of meat, if you use the code SeanDel, so Sean DEL, all one word, you'll get free delivery off your meat hampers. Let's fucking do this. So, number one, we have a goat's cheese high protein pizza. Number two, we have a buffalo chicken high protein pizza. We have rump steak, 2 of them, a pot of high protein fajita chicken. Next up, we have a pot of high protein balti chicken, high protein chicken and chorizo paella, high protein sweet chili, high protein sunshine chicken pot, high protein chicken tikka, high protein balti chicken. We have 2 times turkey burgers, bacon medallions. We have beef steak mince, more chicken tikka. We have high protein bean and potato. Not sure how I feel about that, but we'll give it a go and we'll give it an honest review. We have a high protein butter chicken, high protein curry noodles, and high protein sweet chili. Is it chicken? Sweet chili chicken. On top of that, we got a massive bag of chicken breast. I'm actually fucking broke up. I have nowhere to put all this. A cheeseburger pizza, a mighty meaty pizza, bit like myself. Lean beef steak burgers, lean pork, sausages, skinless barbecue chicken breast, more meal prep, high protein chicken satay, lean beef meatballs. We have lean pork sausages. That's just so much. High protein chicken black bean, high protein Cajun beef, high protein black bean with chicken, high protein Carabana chicken. I'll be Jamaican a fine. High protein chicken satay. There's so much here. High protein sausage and bean. High protein Korean chicken. High protein Cajun beef. High protein Carabana chicken again. High protein mushroom ragu, and it's meat free. The fuck? High protein Thai curry. High protein Spanish brunch. And finally, high protein Korean chicken and high protein curried noodles. My back is broke. How big do they think my freezer is? I have a very modest freezer, of which I share with small Sean. There's so much there. I'm not complaining. I'm just fearful that if I know me as well as I know me, that a lot of this will go off by the time I'm going to get around to using it. And look what I just found. It's a fucking block of like 20 chicken breasts. Who's hungry? Let's eat. We have meal number 1 at, wait till you see this, 4 fucking o'clock. Haven't eaten a thing. I've had 2 energy drinks, but with the muscle food delivery coming, I had to take like a couple of fucking photos, videos, and ended up having to clean out the entire freezer. And it's one of these freezers that some of the doors have been left half open, so most of it's just consumed by ice. I had to fucking, I'm actually so just drained from it. I spent like an hour and a half like bagging up gone off meat into compost bins and getting rid of, I know it doesn't sound like it should take that long, but trust me, it did. And I'm only getting around to meal number 1 at 4 o'clock in the fucking afternoon. Let's just call this 10 grams of butter. Meal number 1 is going to be packed to the rafters with protein, hopefully packed to the rafters with calories, but we shall soon find out. Quite simply because I'm probably only going to eat twice today, and I want to make sure that I'm getting the biggest bang for my buck from the calories that, or from the meals that I'm consuming. In case you haven't noticed, we're also all out of knives. So I don't know if there's anyone who's been watching my videos back in like March last year, where I seemingly always ran out of knives. It's deja vu. So this is meal number 1 in all its glory. We have 5 bacon medallions, we've got about 20 grams of butter, we've got 2 bagels, and we've got 4 eggs to go with that. Including ketchup, including sauces and all that, this meal amounts to a grand total 1,105 calories, which means that once this has been consumed, I'll have 1,595 calories to go. I envisage finishing this full day of eating off with a bulking shake because cooking is just such a fucking waste of time. Oh, it actually hurts to swallow. In case you're wondering why I'm wearing a puffer jacket in the middle of my kitchen, it's because I had to go out and fetch a thank you card for our cleaner, Roxanne. The best I could do was a card that says, "Thank you for everything. In a world that can be a little rough around the edges, you have a way of making it that bit easier." How nice. And Sean got her a big box of cigarettes from Duty Free as well. It's currently 23 minutes to 10, and I still have. I'm going to minus 4 Lindt chocolates off the total of 1,600 calories that I have remaining. So assuming it's about I'm going to say 100 calories per Lindt chocolate to be on the safe side. I have about 1,200 calories remaining. So that calls for one thing and one thing only, and that thing is a bulking shake. Fuck. Here we have all the ingredients for the bulking shake. I'm going to guess a little bit here, but I'm going to hope that I get the calories on this right. So first up, let's go with 300 mils. The fucking shaker stinks, by the way. It's about 100 grams of oats. Next up, we have some peanut butter. Let's say 60 grams. 2 scoops of protein. And finally, 1 banana. This meal right here, this meal being a bulking shake, comes to a total of 1,273 calories, which brings my total calorie intake, including the 4 Lindt chocolates that I didn't record, to 2,694 calories. In any case, this brings to an end yet another YouTube video. Thank you as always for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, drop the video a very quick like. If you're shopping some GYMSHARK, use code Sean for 10% off. Sometimes it's more, never is it less. For 10% off your muscle food order, which can deliver meals, high protein, calorie controlled, made by a personal chef, with meats sourced locally from Irish butchers. To get 10% off your order, plus 30 euros off your first box, use code Sean10 at the checkout. If you're helping yourself to some of the meat hampers, the phenomenal, juicy, tasty meat hampers, and you want free delivery, use the code Sean, DEL, at checkout. And last but not least, if you want to jump on board last minute to the Fitzness 8-week physique transformation occurring right now, that members are actively working on and progressing towards right now within the Fitzness app, we'll hit the link in the description. And maybe, if you're lucky, I'll keep a space for you. Top prizes of 1,000 euros, second prize of 500 euros worth of GYMSHARK clothing, and a third prize of a 1-to-1 8-week online coaching position with myself. Thank you all for tuning in as per usual, and we shall see you all in the next one. Take care. Cheers. The peanut butter is so overpowering.